Okay. So hi everyone, good morning. Thank you so much for joining in today. So my name is Mitesh Gopale and I work as a senior product manager with Oracle for Startups. And I have my colleague Vikas Raina, who is a senior principal cloud architect, who's going to help you all along with me to experience an awesome journey about this mature cloud that is Oracle Cloud. So we come from the cloud architects team and our line of business includes Oracle for Startups, where we help startups to grow and nurture in Oracle Cloud. I don't want to go much into details about what our portfolio is because it contains a lot of tasks. So it is one of my most happiest day because I get to do the favorite part of my job, and that is to teach the young students about this awesome technology and let you all know about the potential about Oracle Cloud. So I'm really thankful that you all have joined today to learn something interesting. Trust me, this session is not at all going to be boring, and you are going to learn about cloud computing and Oracle Cloud. So we are here to showcase and dip your toes into the ocean of cloud computing, which not only shaped my career, but it might be the next potential path for you also. So sit back and enjoy this session. So in this session, we'll be just describing about what is cloud and how Oracle Cloud will help new developers like y'all to build final year projects or to start startups which can serve large customers. So I would encourage you all to flood us with as many questions as possible in the Q&A section, and we would be really happy to answer all these questions. Also, this webinar is just the start with the engagement with PCC. We would share all the links and relevant materials regarding OCI, and we would love to connect on a hands-on session by visiting your college someday. Next slide. Yeah. So you can see general definition about what is cloud. So I'm sure in the audience, there'll be people who will be knowing the basics about cloud computing, but just for the general audience. So what is cloud? So you can read the definitions over here given by the National Institute of Standard Technology and Gartner. So these are little technical definitions. So according to me, a very basic definition. So you'll be using social media apps nowadays, right? So the application which is running, it is not running on your phone. So somewhere the computing process, somewhere the data has been stored, somewhere the whole application is running. So and if there is an event in your college, so many people will be posting photos on Snapchat or Facebook or Insta, and there'll be a spike in the compute. Somewhere background this computational thing is happening. So that's where cloud technology comes into play. So my basic definition in layman term about cloud is very simple. So cloud computing methodology is that which provides services to provision and deliver resources via the internet. So it helps in reducing infrastructure management, cost reduction, and makes application development and maintenance really easy. Okay, so there are different types of characteristics of cloud computing. In them, there are different types, which are on-demand self-service, broad network access, resource pooling, rapid elasticity, and measured features. Measured services. So we'll just go in one services. So on-demand self-service. So it is a capability which enables the users to use cloud computing resources without requiring human interaction, and it is mostly done via web-based service portal. Users can unilaterally provision computing resources, and they can use networks, the storage capabilities as and when required without human interaction. So that is an advantage of using cloud service. The next one is rapid elasticity. So I give you an example. If there is an event, there are people who will be posting a lot of photos and videos. So that time the computational power requires much more. So cloud computing allows you to rapidly elasticize, in the sense you can increase the compute resources accordingly whenever required. So that is one major advantage of using cloud computing. The next one is broad network access. So broad network access will make sure that cloud resources are accessible via network. It supports different platforms such as mobile devices, workstations, and cloud computing capabilities are available via all of them. So that is an added advantage. Next one is measured services. So whenever you're using cloud computing resources, there'll be you can measure the resources. So if you're using X amount of computing resources, you can always measure and monitor and report it based on the utilization. So it provides a complete transparency for both provider and the consumer for utilized service. So at the end of the day, you could understand how much resource you have consumed. So accordingly, you could scale the resources, and if you are doing a cost optimization, you could use proper resources if it is underutilized. So you could always do that. The next one is resource pooling. So so underlying cloud computing technology, there's an awesome feature that is virtualization, which helps you in resource pooling. So at the end of the day, cloud computing is it's a data center, right? So you are utilizing a data center of any big organization like Oracle. So so virtualization will help you all to use for resource pooling. So the physical resources can be used by multiple customers and by securely separating the resources on a logical level. So the different physical and virtual resources are dynamically assigned and reassigned according to the consumer demand. So that is the advantages of using cloud computing. So there are different types of cloud services models. So the first one is SaaS, software as a service, platform as a service, called as PaaS, and infrastructure as a service, called as IaaS. So via the diagram, you could easily understand what these services are about. So software as a service is where applications are delivered to the end users over the internet. And platform as a service is where application development and deployment platform is delivered as a service to the developers. So enabling them to quickly build and deploy on a SaaS application for the end users. And infrastructure as a service. So this is one of my favorite one in cloud. So you get complete access about the operating system, the middleware, the runtime, the data, the application. So you have the complete access over this, and only the network storage, servers, and virtualization is managed by the cloud service provider. So if you want to deploy your custom application, you could play around via these cloud service models. So yeah, these are the different cloud service models which helps you in cloud computing. Yeah, so must be bored listening to me. So my friend Vikas is gonna jump into and make this topic really more interesting than me. So over to you, Vikas.
Thanks, Mitesh. Always so profound and interesting. Hi, folks. My name is Vikas, as Mitesh has introduced me. So Mitesh was talking about cloud, and probably at 10,000 feet high. So let's pull this cloud down to earth and understand what exactly cloud is, and in our day-to-day vocabulary and day-to-day usage, what does it mean to access cloud or have cloud or build your applications on cloud. Before we go any further, let's first look at the deployment models, because this is something that you would be talking about as you talk about cloud. So there are various deployment models: public cloud, private cloud, hybrid cloud, multi-cloud. Let me give you an analogy what we mean by public, private, hybrid, multi-cloud. If you would have traveled in a metro, consider metro as public clouds. All you have to do is go buy your ticket and board the metro and go to your destination. That's something which is available to everyone. All you have to do is go and buy your ticket for the cloud, for the metro. Okay, so that's public cloud. So public cloud is you go, you sign up, and you start using resources in public cloud. So then what is private cloud? Private cloud is something similar to, when you were younger, or maybe still you have your school buses. They are dedicated to you only. Rest of the people cannot board those buses. So that's something akin to private cloud. Mitesh, can we go to the next slide? Yeah, thank you. So that's something akin to private cloud, where cloud or data center or that particular entity is meant only for specific set of users and it's not available publicly. Just like your school buses, which are not available publicly for everybody, is just for the folks in the school. Then comes the hybrid cloud. Hybrid cloud, as the name suggests, it's hybrid. It's two different kinds of cloud. When you start utilizing two different kinds of clouds, that becomes hybrid cloud. A simple example would be, I'll take the example of if you are using public cloud and private cloud, that becomes hybrid cloud. Or if you are using cloud and you are using something like your own data center, which normally we refer to as on-premise, that becomes hybrid cloud. So it's something similar to you take a metro to go to a particular stop, and from there you board your school bus. So you're utilizing two modes of transportation. So that becomes your hybrid transportation or hybrid cloud. Then what is multi-cloud? Multi-cloud is when you use similar kind of clouds, but from different service providers. So, some of the famous service providers in public cloud are AWS and GCP and Azure and Oracle, Alibaba, DigitalOcean. So in case you want to use more than one type of clouds, maybe Oracle Cloud and AWS, or maybe AWS and GCP, that combination would make it multi-cloud. And do remember, these are very important terminologies. Once you start using cloud and once you start working in cloud, this is something that you need to know, because a lot of decisions would be based upon what kind of cloud you are using. Next slide, please. Okay. So Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or Oracle Cloud, or OCI as we call it in colloquial terms, is built for your workload. So Oracle was the first public cloud company which did bottoms up approach to build compute cloud, which was meant for enterprise. And when I say enterprise, I mean big companies as well as small players, SMEs and startups. So this was a cloud meant for anybody and everybody who would want to use cloud. Now, what features does it offer? It would offer easier migration to cloud. So let's say you have developed some artifact, some project, some application on your laptop or in your college's servers. You could easily migrate them to Oracle Cloud without rewriting your code. There are a lot of cloud native services which are available. Cloud native services which are basically born in cloud, which are meant for cloud only. Something like if you have heard these terms like serverless or Kubernetes or blockchain, Oracle offers you all those features, all those services. Then there are autonomous services which basically protect you from any human error, and you don't have to really get involved in running your stuff. And Oracle Cloud also offers you built-in security. By default, it goes with zero trust security, and you can build your application by having the best security feature available to Oracle Cloud. And lastly, which is very important, if you are in modern world, nobody wants to put all their eggs in one basket. People typically do not work with just one cloud service provider, simply because things can go wrong sometimes. So people do prefer a multi-cloud or hybrid cloud approach. Oracle Cloud offers you natively this kind of feature where you can go with multi-cloud or hybrid cloud approach to build your applications. Next slide, please. Okay, so I have been using this word cloud. Cloud is nothing but a data center, a place where your servers are placed, all your servers and hardware and all the networking and all the electricity generators, electricity, extra blah blah blah, which is required to make a data center live, are available, is basically called cloud. But inherently, it's just a data center. Now, Oracle offers data centers or cloud regions across the world. Right now, we have 34 regions which are live, 34 data centers which are live, and there are many more which are in the pipeline and which will come online as the time goes by, as and when everything is green. A good question to be asked is, why do I need so many data centers? Why can't Oracle, or for that matter any other company, build up one huge data center on moon, or maybe have a huge data center on floating in the ocean, and then just use it? Because data center means land, it means infrastructure, it means investment in multiple places. So why do we have so many regions? Why do we have so many data centers? And why we are planning to have many more? Primarily, there are three reasons. First reason is latency. So the farther you are away from the data center, or your customer is away from the data center, slower will be the performance. So if your server is in your city versus the same server is based somewhere in US, and you are accessing the application, you will see there is a time lag if you are accessing the server which is based out of US versus the server which is based in your local city. So, and this is very important for the business. This is something, again, this is a question that you will tackle if you get into cloud business. This is a question you will tackle about latency, the slowness of things. People want everything to be instantaneously available, and people means you and me. We are the consumers. So one of the reasons, primary reasons, that why you have so many data centers, and Oracle, or for that matter any other cloud service provider, wants the data center to be as close to the customer as is possible. The other reason is sovereign requirement. A lot of companies have a lot of countries have implemented data protection policies. One of the most famous one is GDPR by Europe. So what it says is that some of the data, it could be like in India, it's the financial data. In some countries, it's the personal data that cannot reside outside the geographical boundaries of the nation. Which means if SBI Bank has financial data of yours, they cannot store that data in a data center based anywhere outside India. So it has to be inside India. Saudi Arabia has certain conditions like that. Europe has conditions like that. So what do? We create data centers in those countries so that sovereign requirements are met. And lastly, and very important, is disaster recovery and protection. So just in case, assuming that there is a data center in your city, and for whatever reasons, the data center is destroyed, or for the matter, people cannot access the data center because there is a electricity outage. Business cannot afford to be not available even for 1 hour. So what business does is they will have a backup policy, like an insurance policy. The data center created somewhere else. It could be in the same country. Like in India, we have Mumbai and Hyderabad as two of our data centers or regions, but it could be outside the country. So you could maintain your backup or disaster recovery region somewhere else. So the probability of both the regions going down or some mishap happening in both the regions is extremely low. So primarily these three regions, the sovereign requirement, latency, and disaster recovery are primary three reasons which drive multiple data centers across the world. And that's the reason that you don't see a single data center by a company, a massive hyper data center maintained somewhere. Next slide, please.
Yeah, prior to jumping to the next slide, I'd just like to let you all know we have this Q&A tab in the Zoom section. So if you all have any questions, don't forget to ask them, and we'll be happy to answer them. Yeah, over to you.
Thanks, Mitesh. So if you want to get into details of data center, even data centers have different flavors within the umbrella of data centers or region. There are commercial regions, there are data centers meant for government, and there is something a clouded customer, where data center is created for the customer, dedicated to the customer. It's very similar to what I spoke about private cloud, with minor tweaking here and there. But there are within the cloud itself, there are multiple flavors. Okay, so let's talk about cloud capabilities. Mitesh spoke about cloud and what features it provides. I spoke about deployment model and regions. But what does it mean to you as a consumer of cloud? And when I say consumer of cloud, I mean the developer community, the builder community, the innovator community. What does it mean for you? So what it means is Oracle Cloud provides you all the capabilities or the features that you require to build your own application or your software. So at the very bottom level, we provide what is called as the infrastructure layer, where you will have the compute. Compute is nothing but a server. In simplest terms, it's just a server, but it's an elastic server, which means your compute requirement, if it increases, the server automatically expands. The memory and the CPU can be expanded. It could be horizontal scaling or vertical scaling. You have containers, and containers, again, another way of deploying your software. You have storage capability, you have networking capability, we have partnership with VMware and Azure. You could make use of that partnership. So the capability to build your application, and if you're building a basic, let's say WordPress application, you need this core infrastructure capability. you have the capability to build your application on Oracle Cloud. Now, I gave you a very simplistic example of WordPress application, but usually there is more to it. So if I'm building an application, obviously I need a place to store my data. So for that, database is there. Oracle provides you on top of it. Oracle provides you multiple types of database. It could be a relational database, or it could be a non-relational database. Within database, there are managed database, non-managed database. We'll talk about it a little later. And then there are many AI and data analytics services that are provided, and you could make use of these services to build your application or monitor your applications. Okay, then there is another capability or another silo of developer service. You could build your application. For example, if you are building your application, you could just use Oracle's Apex service, which is pretty simple, mostly drag and drop, and you can build your own application in no time. All right. And Oracle also provides you some kind of analytics service. So analytics service is extremely important in today's world. If you look at the startups, you will see majority of startups, if not majority, at least a substantial number of startups are building applications which are analytics based, because lot of big customers require this kind of an application. And finally, there is something called administration and governance, which basically is maintaining and managing your whole cloud environment. Next slide, please. So we spoke about compute and we spoke about elastic compute. What does compute mean? What is that we are talking about? So compute is a term meant for a server. Now, server could be anything. Right now, just let's go with the server. Even your laptop is a server, or you probably have a server in your in the server room in your college. I don't know what's called now. In my time, it used to be called as server room. So you have a machine which can be used as a server. Now, if you are using cloud, there are various flavors of servers which are available. There is something called bare metal, which is basically the complete server. A huge server is made available to you, and you can deploy your own hypervisor on top of it and create multiple VMs on this bare metal, or run your application, which is very compute intensive kind of an application, which has high ops. You could use bare metal service. I spoke about VMs. VMs means virtual machines, which are smaller servers, and these are virtual machines, which means on top of a huge bare metal machines, we'll create virtual servers for you. So servers do exist on this bare metal, but they are virtual in nature. So what it means is that you have a big server. On top of this server, you can create 10, 20, 30, 40 VMs, 100 VMs based upon what your requirement is, and multiple people can use those VMs. Let's say Mitesh is using one VM, and he doesn't want to share that VM with me. I will create my own VM, but underlying bare metal machine would be the same. Now, VMs provides you a lot of flexibility in terms of scalability, which means you can scale, you can add more power to these VMs. There is security associated with it, which means even though we are on the same bare metal machine, but I cannot access VM of Mitesh unless and until he provides me the access, and vice versa. Then within VMs, there are you can look for VMs which are available to you for a short duration of time, or you have VMs which are not bare metal, but they are meant for high ops. So within VM family, there are multiple options which are available. Then if we are talking about compute, there are containers. Containers are, I'm sure you would have heard about this terminology, containerized application. So you basically are running your application in microservice fashion, where you break up your service in microservices, smaller chunks, and then you run them on containers. So again, containers would run on VMs. Similarly, you have serverless functions where you don't even care about what's the underlying hardware or the underlying features of the server. You just have a service available to run your application on top of it. As simple as that. And then I will not get into a lot of details because we'll run out of time, but then there are other flavors available. You have GPU machines available to you. Then there are Intel and Ampere kind of machines. These machines, when I talk about these are different models for your chip. And then with the machine, you have native storage assigned to it. So when you buy a server, you have some kind of, we talk about RAM and we talk about memory. So some kind of native memory, native storage is assigned to your server. And again, the things that I'm talking about, some of these things may not be very important to you right now, but once you get into cloud development completely, these things do matter. All right. Mitesh, can we go on to the next slide, please? Then there is storage. So there is two kind of storages. One is storage which comes natively with the compute machine. So I have storage when I create the compute machine, I will have some storage assigned to it. But what if I need more storage? Mitesh was talking about, Snapchat, or you have application which is similar to Instagram, and you have videos, and you have images, you have pictures. Maybe you have your college is using some computer application, and they have all the documentation, your certificates, and your mark list, and all the stuff which is available that needs to be stored somewhere. So where do you store it? At some point, you will run out of storage space. So for that, cloud, and specifically Oracle Cloud, offers you various kinds of storage models. Depending on what kind of storage do you need, storage model is available. It could be local storage native to your compute server. It could be block storage, or file storage, or object storage. These are different kinds of storages. Primarily, different storages are used for different activities depending on what your business use case is. You will use that kind of storage. So, for example, if I have developed an application which is very similar to Reels kind of application, where people can just upload their video, and consumers can watch those videos, and you want to store those videos, and videos take up a lot of space. We are talking about, big applications probably are using petabytes of space. So you want to store it somewhere. So you will put it in object storage, most likely, and then access the videos via object storage. Besides that, there are other options available in storage. You have archive storage, you have storage gateway, excuse me, you have file system. But normally, as just a innovator or a developer, the top 4 options, which is local, block, file, and object storage, you will be dealing with these kinds of storages. Storages are extremely important. They are one of the building blocks of any application. Without storage, probably your application is missing an important piece. So storage is something that one needs to have complete focus on. Next slide, please. So I spoke about database. I'm not sure how many of you have actually worked with a database or are aware of what database is or what are the intricacies of the database. But a very high level database is something similar to the storage or file system that we spoke about. In terms of features, what it does is it stores your data, and it stores your data in a particular format. Databases come in 2 flavors. One is RDBMS as a relational database, and the other one is NoSQL kind of a database. We'll not get into details of what is RDBMS, what is non-RDBMS or NoSQL database. But just remember, for building a solid application, some of the key factors would include a compute machine where you're going to run your application. You need storage where you want to store your data, and then there is database. Now, a question that could be asked is, why do I need database if I have storage available? If because you're saying that is just a means to store your data. So databases store your data in a specific format. So if you have data stored in your database, for example, let's take an example of RDBMS database. You can create a linkage or hierarchy of data, so that if I want to look at specific data and all the parent data or the child data that is associated with it, the dependencies, all that stuff, I can extract through a database storage that I may not be able to do via object storage. For example, if I have data related to students, and the classes that students are attending, and the teachers who are teaching these classes, and the timing of those classes, and these are maintained as separate objects in the database, I can link all of them and extract a nice visualization for you, which we may not be able to do in regular storage like block or object storage or file storage. Okay. Next slide, please. Networking. Most important piece of any cloud architecture is networking. For those who are not very well versed with networking, it's very similar to what you have electricity wires running in your household or in your college. It's behind the scenes, behind the walls, but without this networking of electricity wires, you won't be able to live in that house, right? So whether you have to switch on an AC or your fan or your light, TV, any electrical gadget, wherever electricity is required, you would need some kind of electric wiring done in your house. Networking is very similar to it. networking would bring alive your cloud resources, whether we are talking about compute resources or storage or database. In isolation, they do not mean anything unless and until they are live. What does live mean? Unless and until you or your program or your application or your consumers can access it, right? Or these applications can talk to each other. So I have built an application and there is a database. They are two separate entities. By default, they just exist as nothing. They need to talk to each other. Networking is something that brings them to the life. So the application can talk to the database, database can talk to the storage can be accessed by some external entity. So networking is like the nervous system of the body. So within networking, you have various kinds of networking available. There is virtual cloud network or VCN. There is fast connect, where you can connect your application in the cloud with an on-premise application or on-premise data center. There is load balancer, which will help you balance the load so that traffic is properly managed. There is service gateway, so that your services or your applications or your resources can talk to each other without jumping onto the internet. And finally, there is domain name servers, which will manage how your applications are being accessed from outside world. So in terms of building a resilient application, primarily you would need a compute machine, you would need storage, you would need networking, you would need a database, and of course you would also need some kind of governance model, which is your IAM service, identity and access management service. So these are the 5 pillars of infrastructure layer. So once you have these covered, on top of it, you can use other services that Oracle Cloud provides. It could be AI service, your ML services, your blockchain services, your monitoring services, or maybe you want to develop a code, you could use VBCS services, Apex services. So many services are available, but primarily you require these 5 services to build an application. Like if you want to build an Instagram application or Snapchat kind of application, or you want to build a traffic monitoring system kind of application, you would need these resources for sure. Next slide, please. Okay, so I spoke about the underlying layer, which is infrastructure layer, which you will use to build those services. But what is service? Service in itself is nothing unless and until you can build some kind of a software on top of it. So Oracle provides you cloud native, provides you services through which you can build cloud native applications. Cloud native applications, like I said, are meant or created for cloud. They're meant for cloud. All right. So there are various services that Oracle provides. It could be as simple as a API service. So you are using Oracle's API service to make a call to an external or internal service and post or get data from that service. It could be container services and container registered. So you could have container services to run your microservices and being managed by Kubernetes service by using container registry on Oracle Cloud. You could have serverless applications running. So you could use Oracle's functions or serverless functions to run your applications. You have machine learning service available. You have Kafka-based streaming services, which is nothing but a messaging queue at the heart of it. Those services available. You have DevOps services to deploy your developed pieces of software onto a particular environment, in production environment. You have autonomous database services which are available. So Oracle provides you all the services that you need to build a cloud native application. Now, there is a parallel ecosystem which exists to kind of support this kind of venture. So you could use Terraform kind of a service to create and deploy your applications. You could use GitLab or GitHub to store and extract your applications or extract your software from a publicly available hub. You could have Ansible kind of a service which you could use. So I'm talking about the services that you could call from the OCI services that are being built, or you could use these services in conjunction with OCI services to build a resilient, error-proof, cloud-native kind of an application. If you're talking about all these big social media applications like Facebook and Instagram or maybe Snapchat or many others, most of them will be using one of these ecosystem-based services, or they would have started with these ecosystem-based services and then would have gone on to develop their own services. And a lot of them, like Facebook or Google, they develop their own services and eventually they would release it to the, like charity, they would give it to the rest of the developer community to go and build upon it. So Oracle's cloud native services are very well integrated with the ecosystem tools that you would be using to build and maintain these applications. Next slide, please. Okay, so I spoke about Oracle Cloud and all the good things that Oracle Cloud provides, but then what do I do with it? How do I use Oracle Cloud? So I am one of the students. I'm very excited about Oracle Cloud and whatever Vikas and Mitesh has spoken about. But then how do I go about it? And would it cost me money to actually use Oracle Cloud? So there are two options which are available. One is a free trial option. You can sign up and it will give you free credits for 30 days. You can explore Oracle Cloud. You can build something on Oracle Cloud for 30 days. And this is completely free of cost. So basically get acquainted with Oracle Cloud. Get comfortable and see how I can use, what are the services available and how I can use those services to build something. Now you are a very smart set of people. So for you, it would not take a lot of time to build an application which can be deployed on Oracle Cloud. And towards the end of this session, we'll do a small demo, and you'll see how easy it is to spin up a service, and then all you have to do is deploy your, let's say, WordPress application on it. And in a day, you can actually have a website up and running. The other option is to use always free option. You sign up, but then you use Oracle provides you some of the services like database service or compute service, and there are many other services. Oracle provides it to you free of cost, which means if you run that service, it's not going to cost you any money forever, for life. So you could take that route if you are not sure if after 30 days you may need those services, you still would want to explore. So you could go for always free option. And there is a link at the bottom. You could use that link to sign up for these services. Anyways, once this session is over, Mitesh will send you an email with all the information that we have discussed in this session and all the links that are required to sign up for any of these services. Next slide, please. So another thing that you might want to explore is the certification courses. Oracle offers you a lot of certification courses that you can take up, and they are most of them are free of cost. So why certificates are important? See, in last few years, I would have interviewed maybe 60, 70, 80, 100 people for a role of a cloud engineer. I don't ask them to show me their certificate. If they say that I have a certificate, I trust that and I believe in them that they have certification done, then why do I need to go for this certification? See, the biggest advantage of this certification is if you go for this certification, first you have to study for the certification. First you have to study what that certificate is all about. If you are looking at, say, first one, Foundation Associate certification, you would want to study about the certification, which means you are adding to your knowledge. You will run some videos, you will hear someone talk about it, some expert talk about it. You will take some, a mock quiz about what you have learned. So once you have gone through it, and trust me, once you have gone through those certification, irrespective of whether you pass or fail, once you have gone through the certification, your knowledge level will go up by 30, 40, 50%. There are a lot of things that you will learn just by reading something or listening to it. Of course, if you have certification in Oracle Cloud, and if you want to take certification with Google Cloud, you will see that a lot of things are overlapping, because eventually cloud is cloud. It's just like your maybe your engineering course. Whether you do mechanical engineering in college A or college B, most of the things will overlap. You might be reading different books, you might be doing a bit of practical here or there, but primary concept, primary things that make up mechanical engineering, or for the matter any other engineering, they remain the same. Similarly, if you are comfortable with one cloud, you will automatically be comfortable with some other cloud. So if you take up these certifications and sign up, and like I said, most of them are free of cost. Sign up and go through all the content that is available. You will see that your knowledge of cloud has grown many folds. So that's something I really recommend people to go through it. Try for this certificate. If you pass the certificate, wonderful. That's a great achievement. But even if you don't, just by the fact that you're studying about it would give you a leg up on other folks. Next slide, please. And this brings me to my favorite part of this whole webinar, which is cloud demo. And I will ask Mitesh to walk you through this cloud demo. Thanks, Mitesh. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, Vikas, for such a nice introduction about Oracle Cloud. So fun fact, guys, Vikas told about taking interviews, right? So even he has interviewed me. So I was really lucky enough to that he selected me. Okay, let me start with the demo part now. Yeah. So Vikas has come up with many terms about Oracle Cloud. So let's jump into the demo and see what we can share with you. So yeah, so you can see my screen, right? Uh, 1 second. Okay. So this is the Oracle Cloud login page. So everyone who will be logging to the Oracle Cloud page, they'll be reaching to this page. So by default, whenever you log in, you have to give a tenancy name. So that's a unique name which you have to enter. So once you give that name, you just have to press next, and you'll be provided with the credentials to log in. So you'll be, if you are an admin, you'll be provided with the admin credentials to log in. So it is as easy. You just do continue, and my credentials are saved. So I just sign in, and here we go. So we reach to the home page. So this is the page where whole action about Oracle Cloud takes place. So once we reach to this place, we can perform multiple tasks. I'm just going via your perspective. So once you log in, and if you're doing a final year project, so there'll be people like 3 or 4 people who will be doing it simultaneously, right? So there'll be one person who will be an admin, who will be a developer, who will be a DevOps person. So the first and foremost thing is the admin should go and create a user. So creating a user is quite simple. You just go to this hamburger menu and identity and security, and then you click users. So once you click users, so we have lot many users in this tenancy. So you'll be once, because your tenancy will be blank. So if you are an admin, you'll be getting one user. So you can add other users. So it's quite simple. If you want, you can create an IDCS a user also, or if you want to give general admin tasks to them, you could create IAM resource also. So creating an IAM resource is quite easy. You just fill in the name, you give the description, like if he's an admin, if he's a developer, he's a DevOps person, or any other role. You could just give the description and you give them email to them. And once you say create, the user will be created. So once the user is created, you get the user will be sent the login details, and you could reset the password and send the user the password. So resetting the password is also quite easy. You just click on the user, and if you do edit user, you could change the username, and you could add the user in different groups also. So if you want to add them into different groups, you could add them. So these are the IDCS users, so you can do that. But if you want to do it for the IAM users, you could add them in different groups. So there are different groups like admin users, developers, DevOps users, or if you just want to give them the read capability, you could create a group and give them the policies. So yes. So the next part is which I'm going to show you all is the compartment part. So this is the unique feature developed by Oracle Cloud. So so compartments are the logical structures. So you could divide your workloads based on compartments, or if you want to give access to different users, you could give them access for a particular compartment. So so there in particular startups or bigger organization, there are applications which are running in different phases. So there'll be a development application. The same will be a UAT application where testing will be taking place, and then there'll be a production application. So if you want to segregate this application, it's quite easy. You can create a compartment and create resources in them. So that is an easy process. You just go and create the compartment. You give the name, you give the description. So parent compartment is the root compartment, and you can create the child compartment. So if you want PCC production resources or PCC development resources, you could give the names and then you can create the compartment. So here are different compartments which have been created in the tenancy. Okay. Now, Vikas has already told you all about the networking part, right? So networking part is also quite easy to create in Oracle Cloud. Again, we go to the hamburging menu. So we have compute, storage, networking, everything has been divided. So we just go to networking part again, and we create virtual cloud network. So the virtual cloud networks is an virtually available network. So if machines wants to connect with the internet, or if machines wants to connect with each other, we require network, right? So we'll be requiring IP addresses for them. So this is virtually created. So this is not physical network, but this is a virtual software defined network. So it's an easy task to create a network. Also, you could create a network via the VCN. A custom network can be created via this button. Or if you want Oracle's help, and it's a ready-made wizard, so it's quite easy. You just click on this, and if you want a VCN to be created via an internet connectivity, you could just start the VCN wizard over here and fill in the details over here. So you could give the VCN name, the compartment, the CIDR block over here. And when you say next, so these resources will be created: a VCN, a public subnet, a private subnet, an internet gateway, NAT gateway, and service gateway. So these are next terms. So an internet gateway is a gateway to connect to the internet. A NAT gateway is like a gateway to connect via private resources. So these kind of terms are there, which you can study for our networking resources. So that's how easy it is to create a network. The next and the last part, which Vikas mentioned, was about compute. So the easiest way to create a compute machine is you just go to hamburger menu over here, and we create the instances. So we can create a server by just clicking some buttons. Okay, so now we go again to hamburger menu and instances, and then we say create instance. So I'll be doing a small demo about creating an instance over here and deploying Apache web server. So it's very easy to create. So now I can give PCCE instance name. I am just giving. So it is created in my compartment. Okay, then we get an option to select a different availability domain. So there are 3 availability domains. So Vikas mentioned about regions, right? So in a region, there are isolated availability domains. So individual data centers which are connected in the same region. So if in India, India is one region. So there are so there are different data centers in that region. So which is near to the geographical area. So availability domains are those which are connected via low latency in the same region. So you could select any availability domain, and then okay, then we can select over here image and shape. So different types of images and we can select over here. So if you click over here, there are platform images. If you want to go with Ubuntu machine, Ubuntu server, or you want to go with a CentOS server, or an Oracle Linux server, or if you want to launch a Windows machine, you could always do that. And you can just select the OS version, and then you can select the machine. So for this demo, I'll be using canonical Ubuntu machine. I just select the image. Yes, and then Vikas also mentioned about the different processes, right? So and the shape. So Oracle Cloud helps you all to choose the shapes according to your workload. So if you want to select a different cloud, if you want to select Intel processor or Ampere processor or AMD processors, you have the option, and you can select the cores and the RAM. So if you have a higher workload, you could select a more intensive CPU, OCPU, and RAM. So I'll go with the default option over here because I'm just launching a Apache server. So I'll just go with the default option over here. Okay. Then comes the networking part. The one which we had created was the networking, right? In the previous thing. So we can select any network over here. I'm selecting my test VCN, and then there are in a VCN we can divide a VCN into a public subnet and a private subnet. So a public subnet is a subnet where you put all the internet application facing machines in the public subnet. So if you want access, or if you are attaching any public IP to it, you can place them in the public subnet. And the next one is the private subnet, where you don't require internet access, so you could connect them via jump box or any other via public net. You cannot directly connect them via public network, so you have to use a jump box for that. So that is where. So because we are connecting via internet, so I'm selecting public subnet, and I'll be assigning an IP for it. Okay. Then yes, so Vikas also mentioned that you can create multiple machines, but you won't be able to get access to another machine, right? So if I am creating a machine, so Vikas won't be able to access my machine because this is an added security, the SSH keys. So you'll be having your particular set of SSH keys. So so when the public key matches with the private key, then only you can log into the machine. So that is a security mechanism which is there in Oracle Cloud to log into the machine. So I'll select my SSH key which is there. Let me copy that SSH key. So you have an option to generate a new key pair also, or you can upload the key pair also. I'm just pasting my public key over here, because I have the corresponding private key available, so that I can log into the machine. Next, I'll keep everything default. There are custom options also, but because of the time limit, I don't want to go into the details. And then we can just directly create the machine. And it will, in couple of seconds, the machine will be created. Once this is turned green, we can log into the machine. Let's wait for a couple of seconds. I think so it will take a couple of seconds to do that. Yeah, meanwhile, if you have any questions, you can paste it in the chat box and we are really happy to answer. I also see Razia in the chat window. So I'll unmute you, Razia, so that you could say some parting words. So yeah, yeah. So now the machine has been green, right? Now let me stop sharing. Now the part is done over here. I'll just copy this and then I'll log into the machine. So let me do one thing. One second. I'll share again. Okay, so this is my terminal window. Okay, where I'll be logged into the machine. So this is quite simple. Oops. Okay. I go to the SSH folder where the machine is there. Then I want to log into the machine which I've created, right? The PCC machine. So this is a command to log in. This is my private key. And this is the default username. And then I put the public key. Sorry, the public IP. And then when I hit enter, it asks for the fingerprint, and then when I say yes, I can log into the machine. So I'm into the machine now. So Ubuntu @PCCE. So PCC is the machine name. So what I'll do is, so this is the blank server, right? Now you can develop your application on this, or you can deploy your application on this. So what I'm doing is I'm deploying an Apache web server on this, and then you could deploy your own website. So this is a very easy process to deploy your own website. So so these are the series of commands which I'm running. This is to install the Apache on Ubuntu. So once this has been installed, what I need to do is open the port. So port 80 is the default port where Apache listens. So what I have to do is I just open the default port. So these are the series of commands, and then I do net filter save. So even if the machine gets reboot, the command won't fail. The port 80 won't get disabled in the OS firewall. Now what is happening is, let me stop sharing again, and I have to go back to the window about OS thing. Just 1 second. Yeah. So you can see my screen again, right? So what I'll do is, now the Apache has been launched, right? Apache web server. So via this public IP address, I can just click on this, and you can, and voila, you can go to this default Apache web page. So so this is not looking a little bit helpful, right? So I'll just give you an example. So this kind of IP is there. So what I have done from last 3 years, I have bought a domain name, so mitejgopale.com. So what I did is, I did the similar way of creating my website and deploying it on the server, and see, I could deploy it free of cost for last 3 years, because I'm not paying even a dime, and I'm using Oracle Cloud always free resources. So you could create your website, you could launch any application, you could do your final year projects, you could, if you have any startup ideas, you could use this. So that's the power of Oracle Cloud. That's the power of cloud computing, which we had the intention to teach you all. So yeah, that's pretty much from my side. Because would you like to say some words, and then we can hand it over to Razia to say some few words.
Sure. Thanks, Mitesh. Thank you very much. So, folks, this demo or all the information that we have shared with you is useful if you plan to develop your project or any short application on cloud. So there are various resources available to build your applications. There are do-it-yourself labs available. There are videos available. You could, if you're doing a project for your 4th year, or if you are innovative and you want to build something which is something similar to any social media site, you could use Oracle Cloud's services which are available. And like Mitesh said, he has been running one of his website for free forever now. So you could make use of those resources. You could also make use of resources to explore Oracle Cloud. And like I always say, if you know about Cloud A, you probably know 80% about Cloud B, D. And if you are in this cloud world, you need to be aware of cloud terminology, cloud excuse me, cloud features, and the power of cloud. And how you do that? You basically try it out yourself. Okay, so this verbal information that we are sharing with you will not be of use unless until you try it out. So my recommendation is do some hands-on, try out building some applications, try out building, spinning up some services, learn what is database versus what is storage, and that should be a good starting point for you. Somebody asked about certifications in the Q&A section. Some of the certificates are for free. Not every certificate will cost you money. And what we'll do is we will wait a second. Maybe I can share a link with you. If you go to Oracle Education, you can actually do certification, sign up for certification which are free of cost. The higher certificates like professional certificates probably will cost you money. But if you're looking at the beginner certificate, the associate certificates, most of them are free in nature. So certification is another area where you can focus. Last parting words. If you have any question, if you have any doubt, or if there is something you want to discuss further, please drop a mail to Mitesh and me. We'll be happy to get on a call like this with you guys and answer your questions. Thank you.
Am I audible?
Yes, Razia, you are loud.
Okay, hi.
Hi, Razia.
Yes, hi, thank you. I'm not very sure how you switch on the camera. Anyway, thank you, Mitesh, and thank you, Vikas, for a very informative session. I take subject cloud computing for the final year students, and I intend to make them try Oracle for at least one of the experiments. And I would definitely motivate our students to take up the certification.
That's very nice. And
session, it's been a eye opener, because we were always looking at AWS and Google Cloud or Azure. We've never really looked at beyond that. So thank you very much for this session.
Yeah, so that's the intention, to let you all know about this cloud, Oracle Cloud, so which has this capability about all the services. So I hope the session was really informative, and you will definitely try to use the Oracle Cloud in future. So yeah, thank you very much, Razia, and all the students for joining in today. And
Thank you. Mitesh, could you tell me the count of students who have participated in today's session?
I have 50 students which are showing me.
How many?
50.
Pardon?
50 students, 55.
50 students are online right now?
Yes, 50 students.
Okay. The thing is, they are all distributed, all over in labs and classrooms. So with me, I have about 8 students here. Was it 6 students? 6 students are in my lab.
Okay. Yeah, so no problem at all. So we have a really healthy participation. So yeah, we are really looking forward.
Yes.
So if you all have registered via to this Zoom webinar, we'll be getting all the details. So I'll be sending you all the detailed documents about what we have
Okay,
discussed.
that's great. Yeah.
Yes.
Some of our
And
third year students are very keen, but they have a training session going on, aptitude training workshop. So they could not attend. So it's great that you'll be sending this.
So we'll be sending the record webinar also, which will be uploaded on YouTube. So you could go anytime and visit the whatever which is missed. You could.
Okay. Can we share this on our social media?
Yeah, we'll definitely do it on LinkedIn. And then.
So we can share it.
Yes, it will be available on YouTube. So anyways, this video will be publicly available, and then you can share it with the rest of the folks. I'll just add something here. We are also planning, if it works out, we are also planning to do another session, a hands-on session where we will actually be using these services and build some kind of an application. It will be a
that'd be really nice. It would be
something like
yes.
something like a WordPress application, a WordPress website, maybe. We could do a microservices kind of an architecture where multiple containers are running your microservices.
Okay. Even APIs maybe. Yes. Okay.
We have something like that in our plans. It all depends upon the timing and dates and when folks are available.
Okay, more or less, when would you have a session like this? If you plan?
The dates are not decided yet, but that's on our roadmap, because just doing one session and then washing.
Okay. So you all have not planned it. You all have not had it anywhere else in the country yet.
Sorry, what was your question?
You've not had it in any other college as of now?
For this kind of webinar or
offline?
No, not yet. That has not been decided.
Yet. Okay, fine. Do update us. We would be very happy to have that session.
Absolutely. There were COVID restrictions till now on travel.
Okay.
So now that those restrictions are gone from our company side as well as government side, so we are in the middle of planning this kind of
Okay. So the subject is a part of our curriculum around the year, because one semester they have it